Hey everyone, Walker here. Before we get into this episode, I just wanted to talk about some news I received. I saw online Thursday morning, friend of mine, a trainer in the industry, one of the best trainers up in DFW, Noelle Scarlett, sadly passed away. He was the father of Jaden Scarlett, who, was a big player there at Cormdale, and also his older brother also went through Cormdale as well. So it was just it was hard, hearing that news. He coached me at Salas Christian for a year, and it was he right away you understood how good he was at his job. He pushed everyone, any kid he trained, to be the best version of themselves. He was just so good at his job. He knew the game so well. He was just such a valuable asset for DFW in the community. And he was just so helpful for so many kids, public or private, around DFW and the state. He's helped a lot of guys get better who are private school guys, you know, um, including our own team for South Christian for 1 year. He was one of the first people who really believed in me to go where I didn't even think I was able to achieve my dreams with regarding football and the offers I got. He thought and just believed in me wholeheartedly when a lot of people really just didn't see that or just didn't believe that, even myself included. And I think that's one thing I'll always respect about him is that he believed in you and pushed you to be the best. He was someone I really looked up to as just a man and just was a great human being. Looking back, I always got to talk to him when I went up in DFW for certain events for in the job that I have, and just seeing him around, always a great person just talk to, get catch up with. He'll be deeply missed, and thoughts and prayers to the Scarlett family going through this time. I will put the donation GoFundMe page for the funeral for him down below. I just wanted to say this quickly before we go into the episode, but yeah, thoughts and prayers. Rest in peace. A great man and great person in the industry of Texas high school football. That's really for me. I appreciate it. Appreciate everyone watching the podcast. And here's today's episode. Thank you. Hello, howdy, and welcome back to another episode of season 2 of the Texas Private School Podcast. You might notice this is a little bit different setup than normal. As you can tell, I'm not in my normal, luxurious, upscale College Station apartment. I had to drive over to Ryan's because the internet at the Standard in College Station is terrible, and I want that on the record. But basically, my co-hosts, as always, are Ryan Schroeder in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and Walker Lott, who is right next to me. So, Ryan, I'll start with you this time. How are you doing in Stillwater?
Good. Another week of classes. Going well. I know y'all just started though, right? Didn't y'all just start this week?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm on week 3 and these kids are on week 1. What is this? I've been in school for so much longer. This is dumb, but yeah, going well though.
Yes, Syl this week has had me in a chokehold. Walker, how have you been doing? Same there. It's been very stressful, but you know what? We're gonna still get this episode out this week, no matter what. So I'm excited. Completely agree. And we actually have a lot of information to go over that we're going to do. And first of all, we're going to start by recapping our picks from the last week. Ryan went 9-2, and me and Walker went 8-3. I want to address now my mortal lock of the century in Colleyville Covenant to beat Grapevine Faith, which I hyped up an unbelievable amount, absolutely crashed and burned. They lost 30-6. And personally, I might never forgive the Colleyville program for this. This is something I won't forget, and that makes me very, very disappointed. But I mean, overall, in my opinion, those records aren't bad. I mean, it's the first week of the season. We had very limited information to go off of. I mean, we're pretty much all just looking at Dave Campbell's and comparing schedules from last year. So I'll see what y'all think. What do y'all think in terms of those records?
I just think I'm a winner, if I'm being completely honest with you. I don't know why you're trying to discredit my win. I don't win at a lot of things in life, so I'm trying to take my wins where I can get them. So, but anyways, no, you're right though. You're right. I mean, it is first week, and best believe I'm gonna be the winner at the end of the season too, though. That's like I'm one now. I'll be one at the end of the season too. But that's fine.
See what's on the top of my head right here? It's called a cap. That is.
Oh yeah. All that back there too. Yeah, there you go.
I'll come out on top. I fully believe it. But Walker, what do you think of our combined records?
I think some teams just came out stronger than we thought. Some of those D3 teams, especially Cypress this past week, showed they're here to play, and I'm really excited to see them down the road. And there's another game this week that's going to be very interesting to see how they do. So
I made a comment that I should never bet against Chris Hogan, and for some reason I don't listen to my own advice because I'm a fool. However, we'll get more into that later. There's a lot of Division 3 matchups that I really like, while also with other Division 2 teams that we'll get into. But first of all, we have to go over the players of the week on offense and defense from this last week. And we have some absolutely insane performances we need to go over. First of all, the player of the week on offense, at least my vote, was Zach Johnson. He had 23 carries, 257 yards, and this was the kicker, 7 touchdowns. That's absolutely wild. He's going to be an absolute workhorse again this year for Shiner St. Paul, and I think he's a guy that they can hitch their wagon to. But Walker, I'll start with you. What did you think about Zach Johnson's performance?
That 7 touchdowns is absolutely insane. I mean, I know they are in that run-powered offense, and that makes sense, but still, how do you not stop 7 touchdowns, especially that one guy? Like, if all right, they're going to hand him the rock. Like, I just don't get that. That's insane. But props to the guy. He balled out this last week. I'm really excited to see how good he is, especially in this matchup he has this week.
Fair. Ryan, your thoughts?
I totally agree with Walker. It gets to a point where if he's already had 4, how do you let him score 3 more? The ball is going to him, just I don't know. It's funny. It's funny to think that way. And obviously, I hope he keeps it up.
Okay. Ironically enough, I do have a point of view from the defense's perspective here. First of all, at Grace, especially my junior year, our front 7 was absolutely horrendous. It was terrible. I played in the secondary, so I can say that and put the blame on them. But we played Wascom one year, and their running back who committed to SMU, I think, had either 7 or 8 touchdowns. And it gets to a point that, you just can't stop it. There's no other way to put it. Some guys are just way too athletic for the teams they're playing, and that's how that happens. But, transferring away from Zach Johnson's incredible effort. On defense, we're looking at Derek Felder, 22 defensive back from the Woodlands Christian Academy, who had 3 interceptions, a tackle for loss, and a pass breakup. And honestly, if I just saw 3 interceptions, I would have taken him anyways. He was up with some other guys. Some guy had a pick 6 and 2 interceptions, and some other guy had 10 or 15 tackles. It's so rare that you see 3 picks in a game. I really had to take this here. I'm open to debate. If you think this is incorrect or I missed someone, please let me know in the comments. But like I said, it was honestly a coin flip between him and the 22 Cypress Christian defensive back, Jackson Owen, who had 2 picks. But like I said, it's crazy to have 3 picks in a game. Why do you keep throwing at that kid? Ryan, I'll start with you here. What are your thoughts? Do you think I got that right?
No, you're right. It's the same thing as the other situation. If a guy is balling out, you can't keep throwing it on his side of the field. You got to find other options. He's going to be on your best wide receiver because he's been doing the same thing all game. You got to use your other weapons. They may not have other weapons. So it comes to that kind of thing. But in all reality, it's the same thing as this. It just like if you're on offense, you can't, just like if you're on defense, you got to play against the run. It's the same thing on offense. If defenders are good in certain areas, you can't go to that same side. You have to learn over a period of time, and you can't let one guy have 3 interceptions. Just the thing.
Walker?
Y'all both said it correctly. I know I was offensive lineman, but how do you throw it to that man? You really it's insane. Just straight up.
That's got to be on a coaching staff at one point that you got to just say, you got to tell your quarterback, do not throw the ball to this side of the field. It's like the Deion Sanders effect. Just don't throw to that side of the field. No. It's very simple.
Yep.
But actually now we're going to transition into talking about the last week's matchups. And first of all, we're going to start with a game that absolutely broke my heart in half. Grapevine Faith versus Covenant Christian. I'm going to let Walker take this away because if I start talking about this, I'm probably going to throw up. So
it's an interesting matchup. I think First of all, Grapevine Faith won 30-6 in a dominant, and frankly, we were just wrong. I think we just were so high on Covenant this year. I mean, from last year, kind of just going to do wherever they really won in Division 3. We were like, all right, with the talent they had, the talent they're returning, how can you not win this game? And I think Grapevine Faith showed, all right, we're here, and showed how they've always been that big time school in Division 2, and they're staying with that. I mean, since I've been in high school, since I've been in middle school, they've always been that power, and they're still going to be that power. Chase Cross passed for 355 yards and 4 touchdowns, with Josh Terrell, receiving 2 of those touchdowns on 4 catches, 185 yards receiving. And then Parker Bailey caught the other 2 touchdowns with only 4 catches again for 170 yards receiving. If any stat really defined that game for Covenant, it's that Covenant's quarterback, Rhett Rentiera, he had 14 carries and he had negative 40 yards rushing. I got that from, Dallas Morning News. So if that's wrong, it's wrong. But I think that just shows how much that defense locked down that offense for Covenant. So that is just shocking. And I think it shows how good Faith will be this year. And I think it shows, all right, maybe we need to step back a little bit of how good Covenant is.
Yeah, no, before I let Ryan go, I'm just going to say, I think more than anything, first of all, I'm not down on Covenant this year because of this one game. I think more than anything, this tells us Grapevine Faith was a lot better than we anticipated. And that's on me in a sense for not realizing that. I'll admit we had limited information going into the season. However, this really shows us they're the real deal, and they're not going to fly under the radar any longer. And it'll be interesting to see how they do. And what I'll say is an absolutely stacked Division 2 this year with Southwest, Dallas Christian, Regents. I think that division is going to be very, very interesting. We'll get to that more later. Ryan, what did you think about the atrocity that was Grapevine Faith versus Covenant?
Now, I'm gonna say this how it was. It's just we were all wrong. Even Tepper was wrong. I mean, we all picked Covenant, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, I just want to apologize to Covenant. I mean, I want to apologize not to Covenant. Covenant, you screwed us over, but apologize to Grapevine Faith. Like, we did not, know enough about this team. We not dog, but like we said, Chase Cross wasn't going to go out there and do this, and he dropped 355 and four touchdowns. I love that. Also, that's kind of scary that 2 wide receivers had over 170 yards or over with 2 touchdowns apiece. Imagine going up against that, and you have to know that your top 2 corners, like if you have a number 1 corner and the other guy's not as good, doesn't matter. You got 2 weapons. You have to be able to cover both of them no matter what. That's so scary to think about. But talking about the running about the quarterback, I low-key think those are just sacks that were counted as rushes. So if those are sacks counted as rushes, which is what I would assume, I don't know how many sacks they would have had, but that's still insane. That's insane defensive lineman work right there. Like, you've done so well, or I mean linebackers, whatever too, but you've just done so well with keeping Rhett Rentiera from doing anything during that game. I big props to Grapevine Faith defense, big props to Chase Cross and Terrell and Bailey. I really, really am excited to see them play more this year, but scary. Division 2 is going to see some scariness with Grapevine Faith this year. That's what I'm going to call right now.
Yeah, and I want to say one thing. The top 150 player in the country, Etta, was only given. He only had 1 sack on the game. I mean, if you stop a player from disrupting a game like he should be doing in that game, that's how you seal that game for the win. So
yeah, I think only time will tell if Grapevine Faith is this good and Covenant is where they is. We have to get a bigger sample size on these teams and see, but it'll be really, really interesting to follow these teams into the future.
I think what we have to say real quick, not to cut you off, sorry, but what we have to say real quick, it's just still D2 versus D3. All right. This is still a mismatch. So this is not within its own division. It's a mismatch. And I want us to all realize that. I want all people to realize that it's a mismatch. Okay. So
it's funny you bring that up because I'm going to have another statement that relates to that later, which will be pretty definitive and interesting, but we'll hit on that once we're a little farther in. But now we actually run into Parish versus Bellair, and I'd be doing an injustice not to let Walker take this because he was actually covering this game live. So I'll let you take this away.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Bellair Episcopal. They were very welcoming, and I was very happy to be down there. I want to say one thing. They have one of the best student sections in probably TAPS in private school. You know, I went to 2 6A games back to back and then went to that one. And I honestly will say that one probably argued with those 6A games. Honestly, that team has one of the best fan student sections ever. And they have a gong. They have a gong, man. I want to say this. They have a thing. They have like 4 guys are called the Gong Squad, and the gong is passed down each class from these guys who like bang on a gong every game, every student event, every sporting event. Sorry.
I don't know if I know what that is. A gong?
It's a gong,
Yeah,
like,
it's
you know, like
like
that. And yeah.
Gong instrument. I'm looking this up. So confused. Oh my
Yeah.
God. They had that at a game?
Yes.
They just lug that into the stadium?
Yes.
That's so scary.
I think it was so cool. So I want to shout out for them for that for sure.
That's cool.
But now,
That's cool.
of course, so thank you. Shout out all of them. Thank you. Now let's talk about the game. Parish won 34-14, and I honestly don't think the game was ever in doubt. You know, it was just like how slowly can they get over the first game, just like mess ups to kind of seal the game. And that would happen late in the fourth quarter, third quarter. But Parish locked down that offense. Bellair only scored on a kickoff return, which was really going to happen because they went almost yard like 3 times, and then on the fourth one or third one, they hit it. And then the other one was against the twos later in the fourth quarter, third quarter, I forget. So that defense basically sealed the deal for Parish's win. And on the offensive side, as always, Parish found their guy in 2025, Sawyer Anderson. Kid looked legit. You know, I mean, I don't know where they get him, but they found him. And he, in his first ever varsity game, he went 14 for 26, 176, and 2 TDs. I mean, he just looked composed in the pocket. He wasn't scared to make those throws when people were coming in his face. He was ready to go. The kid was barely even fitting his jersey. That's how, like, you know, he's a freshman. And he was so composed. So, you know, talking to Novikov after the game and just seeing how he is, they have a special quarterback over there at Parish, and he's going to be their guy next 4 years. So shout out to him. But the thing about it is they always don't have to rely on that quarterback of a freshman, because when you have Andrew Paul in the backfield, who went for 123 yards on 27 carries and scored 3 times, you don't need to worry about that quarterback doing everything for that team. That kid is an absolute just monster and a unit on that team. There was never a doubt that I really thought that he was never going to fight for yards forward. Like, he just was that guy that he's just going to plow over people, and he's a little shifty too. He, behind that great offensive line with Aiden Gilmore leading the way, that's going to be dangerous for any team in TAPS Division I. Going to the other side, Bellair's season is really going to depend on how good that offense is going to be. They need to click that switch that they just did not find in this game so they can win games. That defense, led by that defensive line, especially Bo Edwards, the Air Force commit, they're going to keep them in that game. They kept them in that game, honestly, to like middle third. And I think you just saw that wear and tear of that defense getting tired, and then that's how it kind of struggled towards the end. But that defense will keep them in games. Their offense is going to depend on if they win those games. And that's really all you really need to say about that game.
First of all, was Bellair student section better than what we've seen out of Central Catholic so far? Because right now, in my mind, Central Catholic is probably the student section to beat in TAPS.
When I saw that video, I was insane, and we'll put it on the screen for sure. But that student section, I mean, TAPS got some people that they love their school. And I think that's maybe a topic that we should go reach out and see who really does have the best student section in private school. So that might be something we go tweet out and try to figure out that. But Central Catholic is up there for sure.
We will run a poll and figure that out, because I really do want to know. But right now, it looks like the 2 that are up there are Central Catholic and Bellair. But we'll figure that out later. Yeah, what I wanted to hit on, Walker was talking about Sawyer Anderson, who's a 25 quarterback. this 25 quarterback class in TAPS is going to be elite. I think this could be one of the greatest quarterback classes to ever come out of TAPS. You have at least 5 freshmen that started in like big games this past week, which we'll hit on later, but that's something to watch out for and something we'll hit on more in detail later. Ryan, you have any closing thoughts from Parish Bellair? It's kind of what we expected.
No, I mean nothing really to say crazy, but yeah, I'm if I got eyes on anybody, I got eyes on Andrew Paul. If I'm being completely honest, like I'm looking at his thing right now, 6 foot 215, runs a 4.5 340, and he's a 3-star right now. So excited to see what he does for the rest of the year.
No, for sure. I did want to ask, how did Blake Youngblood do? That's someone I want to.
So I think Blake, I think he was his. So Cedric Mays was his main target, was Sawyer's main target, just out of the backfield, and you can do so much with that damage. But I think Blake Youngblood will be that guy. Hey, if I need a pass, I got him, and I think that's what he's going to be back to being one of the best, lead probably DFW in passing yards again or receiving yards again this year.
Well, I would have to guess that right now they're just using the quick game with Sawyer Anderson, get him comfortable. And Blake Youngblood is more of a vertical threat that gets you chunk yards. So I think once the season goes on, this is my irrelevant opinion, but I think you'll see Blake Youngblood start to, get some momentum and rolling once Sawyer Anderson becomes more comfortable, which is looking like he's getting more comfortable with every snap he's in the pocket. However, only time will tell how Parish develops with that interesting situation they have. But now we look into Cypress Christian versus Fort Worth Christian, the Division III team that I should have hooked my wagon to. I didn't do that, and I went down with the ship. However, Cypress had a different outcome. I told y'all there would be a D3 upset somewhere. I just picked the wrong team. But, I should have been riding with them. But Walker, I'll let you introduce this. Cypress Christian versus Fort Worth Christian.
Why do we keep betting against Hogan, man? I just don't get it. They won 23-8 in a very dominating fashion. The only score for Fort Worth Christian coming in the third quarter. Story of the game was defense holding those weapons of Fort Worth Christian to only 8 points. And they picked off Hogan Nelson 3 times, who starts, by the way, as a freshman. Hogan Nelson is a 25, again, another 25 freshman starting for a good team in private school. So they did not roll with the Lake Ridge transfer, Trevor Andrews. So that will be interesting to see if they trust that quarterback again in this upcoming game, or do they go with Trevor? It's going to be very interesting to see. But of course, Jacob Trimble got his, having 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. But on the other side, it looks like Cypress might be the team to beat in Division III. If they can keep it up, maybe Holy Cross in Division III is the only other team that could really make some damage with them. But that it's going to be very interesting to see if Covenant can go back and maybe beat that team again.
Isn't Hogan Nelson is the guy we were looking at? He's the freshman, but he's like built, right?
He's got a little, yeah.
Yeah, I think that Fort Worth will be in good hands. They got to figure some stuff out. But again, anytime you're starting a freshman at quarterback, you're going to have some growing pains. However,
yep.
Walker, I'll turn to you now. What did you think of this game?
I think
cut that. I meant to say Ryan.
Yeah,
Ryan, I'll turn to you now. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, honestly, I just think that I had it right and y'all had it wrong. Oh, wait, was I not supposed to say that?
No, you're correct.
Hey, no, I honestly, y'all, what do you say? Say it again.
If this wasn't safe for work, I'd flip you off right now.
Yeah, no, I got you. No, Chris Hogan, my dog. I think Chris Hogan is such a good coach. Like, he is such a good coach. Let's be honest. He built the foundation for Grapevine Faith to succeed now. I'm sorry to say that. No discredit to any of the Grapevine coaches now, but Chris Hogan has been in that system forever, and now he goes and does it for Cypress instead. I love how he's been able to do so well with these guys. And I'm not just going to sit here and meet Ryan Cypress the whole time. So I'm going to tell it how it is. Jacob Trimble is who I said was going to have a good game. And even though they only had 8 points, that one touchdown was Jacob Trimble. And I think Jacob Trimble, although the rest of his team might not have done as well. He's still got 100 receiving yards. He's still got a touchdown. Jacob Trimple's the man, and I want to see him do well. I want to see him be the dog for Fort Worth Christian and almost try to carry that team from the receiving position, like wide receiver position. But no, honestly, Chris Hogan, great coach, and I am looking at their schedule right now. It just, I think what's on my mind is give me another D3 versus D2 mashup. And when they on Friday, September 17th, when they play Second Baptist, I'm hyped for that. I would love to see how they go up against such a dog like Second Baptist and how they do against them.
Absolutely.
That will be a game we have to mark. I was impressed in a lot of aspects by Second Baptist, but we'll get to that.
Yeah,
now.
let's talk about that now.
So I went and covered Kincaid versus Second Baptist this past Friday, which I really, really enjoyed. It was a hell of a game to cover. Dylan Bell obviously is that dude, and I witnessed that in person. The dude went off for 3 touchdowns, and he didn't have a ridiculous amount of like breakout plays. However, he did have a couple. Go check our Twitter at Texas Private School Podcast for some ridiculous highlights I got. There's one highlight where Dylan breaks off for a run and his brother Micah pancakes the ever-living mess out of this guy trying to tackle him. It is amazing. But I've talked about Dylan and Micah Bell, who were very good. The kid that stood out to me more than anyone in this game was class of 22 Brown commit, running back strong safety, Everett Skillern. He had a touchdown, but his impact went well beyond the stat sheet. And I'm not saying that in some pity way like you hear most of the time. No, he impacted the game he shadowed Dylan Bell the entire time, and he went toe-to-toe with the Georgia commit, and he didn't break. Now, granted, obviously, Dylan got his, but you can see from the highlights I posted, at least several times, Skillern made shoestring tackles on him. He's just someone that plays with incredibly precise form. He has a high IQ. He has a crazy high motor. And he is someone that we give a lot of credit to guys like Eli Smith, who's incredible in his own right. We didn't give enough to Everett Skillern leading into this season. And I really do think this is a guy that Coach Pirtle and the whole Second Baptist team can hitch their wagon to. I'm really looking forward to see what he's going to do the rest of the season. But yeah, obviously Kincaid won this game. The ending of it was very odd. Kincaid could have took in the knee and ran the clock out, and they didn't. They kept handing the ball off. I'm assuming to get Dylan more stats, but then they had to punt the ball back to Second Baptist and gave him a chance to win the game. I don't know. My brain hurts. I'm not a high school football coach. They're smarter than me. However, that's what I have for this game. Basically, my synopsis is Kincaid is very good. Second Baptist is also good for Division II. It'll be interesting to see. I think it'll be Second Baptist in the semis with Regents again. We'll see. Walker, I'll turn to you. What did you get from here?
I mean, I won't say too much because you pretty much said it all, but I think talking about Everett Skillern, when I went down and saw that school and talked to those guys, Coach Pirtle was the one guy, he mentioned a lot of guys, but he said this one dude, Everett Skillern, will be a dog, and people need to notice that. And I think Brown got a steal in him. Absolutely. It's exciting to see Dylan and Micah, kind of ball out this next couple of games. I know they have a pretty good matchup, I think, soon for sure. So it's going to be exciting to see, do they run the table again this year and become the SBC champions with those guys at the helm, or what happens? So it's going to be exciting.
No, for sure. Ryan?
I love how Kincaid played this game, and I saw the tweets coming out live, but I had to go watch that pancake again. Oh my gosh. Go look at it. August 27th. It's got 23 likes, 9 retweets right now. And it is insane. Like, he blows him up on that play. And I don't know. It's stuff like that makes me want to just, maybe go take a little 4-hour ride home to go see some games this year. But, I honestly, I would love to go see some games in person, and I would love to go see Kincaid play. I'm really excited about seeing, Bell play along with his brother. Dylan Bell playing along with his brother Micah. I think those guys can be insane, and maybe give some more love to these SBC guys, because we don't really we try to give as much love as possible to all private school, but a lot of it is focused on TAPS, just because TAPS has been, the ones last year that had the season and SBC got cut off short. But we got to give love to the SBC when it comes to teams like Kincaid, because they got some dogs, and Kincaid is a real tough school. I'm a call right now. I think Kincaid probably takes the cake over there. That's my true opinion. But Second Baptist, we'll see what happens with them. I'm excited to see how they play the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about that for a second. I think Second Baptist will absolutely bounce back, and I think that matchup of them versus Fort Bend Christian at the very end of the year, that will be a game to watch. Talking about another SBC school, kind of moving into another thing. Episcopal School of Dallas was about to lose a game to COVID, I believe, this week. Sorry. And then they found one against UIL 4A, Wichita Falls Hershey, and they beat them 64-32. They are officially, because like you said, SBC doesn't get a lot of the recognition. They're a good team and they need to be treated as such. And Chase Kennedy, I believe right after that game, I might be wrong the timeline of when he goes, but he just got his hometown-ish offer by TCU. So that kid has officially gotten Power 5 looks now. And I think that kid is about to blow up even more. And the thing about it is we'll talk about their team more later, but they have dudes, not just him on that team. That's going to make him a very interesting team this year.
No, without a doubt. We're now going to move on to some news and notes. Walker, you want to talk about Holy Cross versus Geneva?
Yeah, we'll talk about a little bit, just the other games a little bit. The Holy Cross versus Geneva game. It was interesting that we all picked Holy Cross and Geneva. I believe we all picked Holy Cross. Could be wrong. Yeah, we all picked Holy Cross. And of course, Geneva ended up winning. So the D2 team again reigns supreme. But after losing Cade Barone, Jackson Young, I especially thought, all right, they don't really have that many other dudes. We're wrong. Again, we're wrong all the time, but they got guys now. And, it was really cool to see Geneva just kind of come up on top and show, hey, we can play still, no matter what. I am really disappointed to see that Holy Cross versus Brian Brazos got canceled due to COVID. That was a game that in here in College Station that I was going to try to go watch, but I wanted that matchup really bad. That would have been fun to watch.
For sure. Shout out Coach Foss, great friends of the program. We will be at least one or two Brian Brazos Christian games this season. I really, really like Levi Hancock and what they're doing with that program, and we will 100% be down there to see the future.
Yeah, that's right down the street, right?
Yeah, that's under 15 minutes drive.
Yeah, I was going to say that's so easy just to go see that game real quick.
Fine, look up their field. Their field is nice.
It is.
Is it really? Yeah, I want to look at it real quick.
And while you're doing that, I want to talk about your alma mater again. Austin Regents kind of rolled over Tyler Grace this past week, 45-8. And I want it
on record. Grace was screwed out of roughly 5 touchdowns, and we should have won that game. The refs were the reason we lost.
There you go. That's a true fan right there.
I agree.
I just want to say Drew Dickey, our large school player of the year, MVP of Division II, and overall just awesome dude. He picked off where he left off last year with a state championship and with a stat line of 18 for 25, 341 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I don't know if you know, but I kind of think he wants to go back to back this year. That's just kind of my prediction. And Austin Regents got dudes, man. And I think they have a shot again to run it back. Dallas Christian is a very strong team again this year. And it will be interesting to see if they can finally take over that hump again. But I mean, you can't count out Drew Dickey anymore.
So here's the thing. I'm going to catch flack for being a DC homer because like I've said 4 times, I've hitched my wagon to them. I hitched it last year. I'm going to do it again this year. The funny thing is I hate Dallas Christian. Dallas Christian beat me so many times. I don't like them at all. They're just really good at football, and it's hard for me to bet against them. I think that Regents is very good this year. Notice how I almost said elite and I didn't. I reserved the term elite for Dallas Christian. I really think DC is going to be the immovable object in this scenario, and I think they're really good. But I'm obligated to talk a little bit about Grace. Here's the thing about Grace. They got rolled by Regents. Regents is going to be in the state championship. I mean, that's going to happen. I think Grace still has a chance to finish maybe second in their division, make the playoffs. I mean, because you look at who they got to beat. They got to beat McKinney, Brook Hill and Bishop Dunn, who is absolute dog water this year. McKinney will be interesting. Brook Hill will be interesting. I'll probably look over the Brook Hill game, but we'll see. Grace isn't particularly good. I don't know if they're terrible. I'll see when I watch them live. That's my little 30-second segment of my alma mater. Also, real quick, Ryan, Grace plays Legacy on the 24th, so we got to have some kind of bet going for that.
Let me talk about my game real quick. I'm just gonna talk about it real quick. I won't say much more than that, but Prestonwood are some dogs. Like some dogs. Like, so one of my best friends that I'm friends with here, he went to Prestonwood. And I went to Legacy, and we just turned on the broadcast in the living room here on Friday night. And I put out a little tweet. I think I said that it's actually more fun to watch high school football on Friday nights than go out and party. Because I was like, I think that was one of my tweets, but I was genuinely, we sat there and just watched this game, and I literally turned it off and I said, bro, we need to find something fun to do. I'm like, I'm not sitting here watching, my team get blown out any longer. But Presswood rolled Legacy, and I am excited to see what they can do. Final score was 56-10. But you know what? That's okay. I have faith in these boys, and I really do feel like, although the score was 49-0 at halftime, they can do good this next week.
So what I'm hearing is we're both kind of poo this year. So it'll be an interesting game between two medium bottom level teams.
You know what? I'm excited for it, actually. If I'm being completely honest, it's like what's it called? It's like the Jets playing
like
Jaguars.
Yeah, the best East game ever.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
We'll hype that up a lot. I'll come with a lot of trash talk, but we have to get through the rest of this. Walker, tell us real quick about FBCA and how they're actually legit.
Yeah, Fort Bend, they won 48-12 over Bowling, a UIL 3A team this past week. Brady Dever, the quarterback, went off again, 31 for 45, 449, and 5 TDs. Just absolute stud performance. And I think, all the questions were, they're losing a lot of seniors. What are they going to do? Are they going to get over that hump? And a lot of those questions have been answered, and by a lot of people who just came into the school. Bryce Gaze, Donovan Dixon, and other guys just kind of came in, and they're like, all right, we're gonna dominate. And I think that's what you're gonna see from this Fort Bend team. Like I said earlier, that Second Baptist versus Fort Bend game is gonna basically decide, for taps wise, who's the best team in Houston. So it's gonna be really interesting to see, especially when Fort Bend Christian plays Dallas Christian, of how good is this offense for Fort Bend and how good is that defense as well. Because when you face a Titan like Dallas Christian, it really shows what the character of that team is and who you really are. So
I'm going to say I'm going to use DC as a measuring stick for almost every other team in Division II. It's just how it is. It's just a really good standard to hold people to. However, that is all we have for news. And now we get into the fun stuff, which is our picks of the week. Hopefully the Division III team I hitch my wagon to doesn't absolutely rail me again, but we will figure that out. Covenant, I'll never forgive you. I want that on record again. So the first game we're looking at is Trinity Christian Addison versus the Episcopal School of Dallas. All just some very quick intro. Episcopal School of Dallas is coming off a 64-32 win against UIL for a Hershey that Walker already noticed. Personally, I think they're going to overwhelm TCA here. However, TCA has been prone to play spoiler in the past. Brook Hill, remember, they beat y'all last year. I remember that. But Walker, I'll kick it to you. What do you think we should be looking for in this game, and who do you think is going to come out on top?
Yeah, like a little overview of the teams and kind of their impact players. ESD is led by, of course, the 3-star defensive lineman and Chase Kennedy. 2022 offensive lineman Ryan Eisworth, something like that. I apologize. 2022 DB Kara Hogg, and then 2023 quarterback Patrick Buke. They're a good team, like I said earlier, and they're very underrated because they are SBC. And I think if I could go watch this game, I totally would have, but work and all of that. But that will be a very interesting game for ESD. And then on the other side, led by Steve Hayes, Trinity Christian Addison is led by 22 athlete, Luke Trinidad. I think there's a running back, and he might be the fastest kid in taps. He runs a 10.74 100 meter, was in the state meet for track, was the 100 meter champion, I guess first place or whatever. Other guys, 2022 offensive lineman Cody Polk, Luke Johnston, the 2023 tight end, and also Marcus Schumacher, one of the most underrated guys, that 2022 athlete for them. I think he's a very, very underrated guy coming off of injury, and he's going to make some noise this year. Some other guys, Dylan Eubanks, the 24, and also the 24 quarterback, Kate Trotter. This will be a very interesting game. And it's a game that both with TCA not really being in taps, but being in taps in like this weird state, both teams are teams that we really don't know much about. And I think this will be a very interesting game to see who they really are. For me, I'm going to give ESD the win, and I think that's going to be my pick just because I think they're coming off such a big game last time, and I think they have the high and they have the momentum, but you never know. Like you said, TCA could make something happen. So
no, exactly. Can you tell the man is a recruiting analyst and knows what he's talking about? He's a walking encyclopedia of information. It never fails to amaze me. Walker, Ryan, I'll turn to you. What do you think about ESD TCA?
You know what? I low-key got some bad blood with TCA Addison. Just for even people around here in Stillwater that went to TCA Addison. I know
beef out of any person I've ever met in my life. You want to throw hands with everyone.
I don't want to throw hands with anybody. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no problem with anybody.
Proverbial hands. You want to throw hands with anyone that has Trinity Christian in their title.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, TCA Addison though. It's in my opinion. I don't really know enough about them to really talk a great amount, but I'm excited for ESD this year. I want them to prove something that they couldn't prove last year with how the SBC played. And I love how they played against a UIL team, a UIL 4A team last week. Like, it just proves that some of these TAPS teams can go out and beat these UIL teams. And I mean, not SBC teams, even private school teams in general can beat UIL teams. So yeah, give me ESD. Give me ESD by 2 touchdowns.
Ooh, okay.
Interesting. I mean, I like the pick. 2 touchdowns might be, that's a fair line. I'd probably set it at like 10. Although Greg Tepper yelled at me for talking about gambling in high school football, but we'll pass that. We now move into a game that I am very interested in. Houston St. Pius versus Dallas Christian. Just really quickly, in terms of DC, I've known this team as long as I've known football. This team might be one of their best. I've got a lot of inside information there. Usually they BS me on how good they're going to be, and they kind of kid me and like, oh, we don't have anyone this year. This year they said we got dudes, and I've been looking more into it. They have dudes. They're going to be really daggone good at football this year. We'll get more into that later. Actually, I'm going to say right now, probably the biggest sleeper on this team is 22 free safety Max Makeda, younger brother of the former Sunnyvale quarterback. He played quarterback and free safety at Sunnyvale, and I just pulled up his highlights and I was looking at him. The kid is the definition of Dallas Christian football. Just hard-nosed, will take your ankles out from under you, just the most precise form you'll see. I mean, I really, really think that he will be an integral part of this team and leading them back for state. And first of all, this is going to be the Dallas Christian revenge tour. I really, really think that they're just straight up pissed off how they shot themselves in the foot so many times at state last year. And I think they were robbed by Regents. So I'm really, really interested to see how this wounded animal reacts this season. I think it'll be really interesting. But in terms of, obviously, if you can't tell, my pick was Dallas Christian for this game. In terms of more on this actual game, Walker, I'm going to cut you loose.
Yeah, a little insight to the teams. St. Pius led by Greg Cranfield. They're big time guys. 22 tight end and San Diego State commit Logan Tanner, 22 linebacker Carson Heinz, who a very, very big time guy linebacker, one of the best defensive players in all of private school. 22 defensive lineman Michael Fight, Nathaniel Lolo. I think that's how you say that. I might cut that out if I don't know.
Close enough.
Anyways, 2023 quarterback Kale Skinner, I believe, won the job. And then 2023 athlete Vince Doucette. he already mentioned guys on Dallas Christian, but of course he's led by head Coach Wheeler, and then also Gabe Grubbs, Jackson Berry, who transferred from John Paul, and also Nick Dore, who transferred from TCA Addison. This is how I see it. And, Dallas Christian started with another Division I team in Bishop Lynch and won 42-14. They play another Division I team who's probably a little bit better than Bishop Lynch and St. Pius this week. And then they play Argyle Liberty Christian next week, then Addison, TCA Addison, then Fort Bend Christian, and then Fort Worth Christian. They're going every little more step up in the D1 ladder to see how good this team is. And until they lose, I'm not going to bet against them. So I'm going to say DC wins this game. But the thing about this game, this is probably the biggest team they face, toughest in a while. So it's going to be very interesting to see how well they compete. But I can't bet against DC. So
completely agree. And also remember, I'm keeping this just absolute hate list out of teams that I've hitched my wagon to. How many times am I going to say hitch my wagon in this podcast? Out of teams that I have attached myself to, and very strongly that have let me down. Don't forget that I did this the whole year with DC. I called them a rolling ball of chainsaws, every asset in the book, and they screwed me against Regions. They made me look like an idiot. So again, DC, right your wrongs you did to me and go out and win this year. Ryan, what do you think about DC St. Pius?
I honestly just believe that DC are some dogs. I think it's very easy to realize how good this DC team is. I want to say Jalil Brown. He did what he needed to do. He got 3 touchdowns, 101 yards on 17 carries. It's just I think he's going to be a dog for them. I really liked how how Luke Carney played, but in all reality, he's a freshman, right?
Yeah, another 25 starting for a big time power in private school.
He was 11 for 13, by the way. He only had 2 passes incomplete. That's crazy. Are you kidding me? It was his first high school game, and he only had 2 incomplete passes. I love that. I think that's awesome. But, and then if you didn't know, by the way, Jalil Brown had 4 touchdowns in total because he actually caught the touchdown from Luke Carney. So, yeah, let's keep that in mind. This kid is a dog. Jalil Brown is a dog. And I'm really excited to see whatever. I feel like that TikTok meme right now. Jalil Brown, dog. All that, how that goes. But
it really is. They have so many elite weapons. It's like they can basically just blindfold themselves and throw a dart at a person, and that's who's going to go off that game. I mean, I really think they're poised for a big year.
Speaking of TikTok, we have to mention. I don't know how we did it. Did you see this? So I was scrolling through TikTok why can't we?
Well, we can, but I'm just saying it's gonna hurt me.
So basically, Austin Regents, if you didn't see this, we'll put the TikTok in the video. But Regents, one of their players threw up right before the snap, just on the field, snapped the ball, ran and scored against Tyler Grace. And it is one of the funniest clips I've ever seen. Just one, dog mentality, shout out to him. But 2, how do you feel?
Whoever that safety is that was running at him at the end of the clip needs to be fired immediately. That was disgusting. At least dive and make a tackle. That was pathetic.
I'll send it to you, Ryan, after this. It's really, really funny.
That's insane.
And now we move into what I'm going to call my game of the week, and it might be y'all's as well. Shiner St. Paul versus Cypress Christian, a game that I'm looking to go probably cover. This game it's going to be very hard for me. That both teams still have a lot of guys coming from last year's squad, and Cypress is coming off that gigantic momentum building win against Fort Worth Christian. However, St. Paul is still the defending champion. And until they're knocked off, I'm going to ride with Zach Johnson in the squad. Our player of the week, the guy that had 7 touchdowns. Honestly, it's so close. The game is so close to being a coin flip for me. It can go either way. And I might just be building myself an out in case I lose. Hey, I said it could go either way. However, I'm hitching my God dang it. I'm attaching myself to Shiner St. Paul. I really think that I think that they're poised for another state title run, and I think it begins here. And so Walker, I'm going to take St. Paul in this game. I think you've got some theatrics planned. So who are you taking here?
Okay, let's do a little deep dive as I always do. Shiner St. Paul, head by Jake Waxsmith, the 7-time state championship head coach. Running back Zach Johnson, the stud. And looking into him again, Braden Slaughter, the 23 athlete, 24 Nate Bodecker, and then 23 quarterback and son of head coach Jacob Waxsmith. I'm guessing it's the son. That makes sense to me. And then going on the Cypress Christian side, you have the head coach, we talk about a lot, Chris Hogan, and then impact player, 22 quarterback Maxwell Landrum. And then you also, who's one of the best private school quarterbacks in Houston, 22 running back Cody Andrews, Jackson Owen, 22 wide receiver DB, 22 offensive D-line, Jake Swan, and also 22 linebacker Griffin Fisk, and then also 22 DB Jackson Braun. This is basically the battle of the Titans of Division 4, who have won it many years, and Coach Waxsmith is trying to get his 8th state championship. And then you have one of the top dogs, maybe the top dog in D3. Just by that, you would think Cypress Christian, right? The higher classification, the top dog of that higher classification should win, right? But one thing you should never do is underestimate Shiner St. Paul, led by the absolute stud, Zach Johnson. Coach Waxsmith, again, is trying to achieve his 8th state title in TAPS this year. I have the utmost respect for this Shiner St. Paul team. But after what happened last week, I would be dumb to pick against Cypress and Coach Hogan. So give me, as my mortal lock, Cypress Christian. Thank you.
I really like your lights are so much better than mine. That makes me so mad. But I like the trend I've kicked off here.
Yep.
Yeah.
However,
Well, I'm gonna do my locks too now. At this point, not this week though. I don't get one this week, but I'm gonna do one in the future.
Awesome. Continue. Ryan, to you, my good sir.
You know what? I hope this game is good. Honestly, if there's anything about this, I hope this game is good. Like, I don't want this to be a blowout in any aspect. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I really hope this is just a good game. I hope that, we can really, really see how good both these teams are. And I hope it really is just like a dogfight. I love Chris Hogan. I think he's one of the best coaches.
There's going to be
what?
There's going to be a butt here. Say it.
I honestly love St. Paul too, but I don't think Zach Johnson has the same game as he did last week. Not at all. I don't think he gets 7 touchdowns again. There's no way. And obviously that's a pretty easy statement to make. You don't think the guys can have 7 touchdowns again. Understandable. But I don't think he'll have 5. I don't even think he'll have 4. I really do think that it's more realistic against a good Cypress Christian team for him to have something like 3 touchdowns, and then for something like Cypress Christian to score like 4 or 5. But he's going to be the only one that's going to score on that team, in my opinion. And I think when it comes to Cypress Christian, just better overall team. I think Cypress Christian's going to win, and better overall coaching. I'm sorry, Waxsmith, whatever. But I think Chris Hogan's a dog of a coach.
I love this. I love being on an island by myself. I love my back against the wall.
There you go.
But no, that's very good for content. And it'll be very, very interesting when I go down there. And, honestly, if Shiner St. Paul gets absolutely waxed here, it's going to be a proven fact that I have a curse, and any team I pick is just immediately doomed. However, we'll figure that out when we cross it, and we will see what comes out of that game. I really, really hope, for the sake of my credibility, that St. Paul wins that game, or else I'm going to yet again look like an idiot.
I just want it to be a good game. I want it to be a good game.
But I want St. Paul to win for my own.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
I've now talked it up a lot more than I probably should have, and I'm just putting my neck out on the line for a TAPS D4 team. But that's what I do. I'm the man of the underdog.
One second before we go into the next game, I want to look at who Shiner played last week. The last time Shiner St. Paul played a Division III team, was one. It was San Antonio Holy Cross, and they lost 21-14. That was the last time they played a D3 team.
I don't hate that.
And Holy Cross last year was close, of course, with Cypress Christian. So, I mean, it will be a very interesting game to see if the D4 powerhouse can knock off the D3, one of the best teams in D3.
I'm no genius, but I think those numbers are starting to work in my favor. But we'll see. I mean, we've talked a lot about that game. All that can be left to do is for the two teams to play. And hopefully Zach Johnson makes me look like a relatively smart person. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Moving on. Plano JP2 versus Houston St. Thomas. JP2 has just had an absolute mass exodus of people come out of there. Walker will get to it later to see what talent they have left there. I'm going to be pretty brief here. I'm taking Houston St. Thomas for the reasons I mentioned above. Honestly, it could be close, but I really like the wide receiver duo of Cameron Price and John Rick Madden. Cameron Price had 10 touchdowns last year. I think both of those guys are running like the 4.5s, 4.6s. So they got some burners. You know, Greg Tepper told me that I get starry-eyed over skill players last week. That's exactly right, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. Give me Houston St. Thomas.
Oh my God.
There you go. There you go. He's going today, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, no, Tepper's gonna watch this podcast and be like, you know what? I told him. I told him to. I told him not to.
Little overview as I always do. You know, Plano John Paul is not head coached by George Teague anymore. He's transferred to the athletic director, and now it's Mario Edwards, I believe. Impact players. They lost a lot. You know, you thought 2 years ago they lost a lot, or a year ago technically. But now this year they've lost a lot again. You know, they lose the Ohio State commit, Terrence Brooks. Wow. That's my job. I almost forgot that name. Yeah. Ohio State commit, Terrence Brooks. Jackson Berry transfers out. Who else? Cam Robertson transfers to Denton Ryan. Braxton Myers transfers to Capel. And I believe there's others. But they're big time talent, the ones that took them a long distance a couple years ago to go to the state. A lot of them are gone. You still got, UCF commit Caden Kittler. But how well is this team going to adapt? You know, they still have 2023 quarterback Drew Faulkner, 2022 athlete Ben Bolin, and then also 2024 defensive back Jalen Archibald. They have dudes. But the thing about it is Houston St. Thomas also lost a lot. Cameron Bonner goes to Baylor. Drake Martinez, Colorado State. And then they lose Maddox Kopp, one of the best quarterbacks in all of Houston last year, to the University of Houston. The thing about it is Rich McGuire, the head coach, has some guys coming back, and also a new quarterback in 22, quarterback Jake Wright. Like you said, Cameron Price, Thomas Green on the offensive line in 22. This will be a really good matchup of DFW versus Houston. Two big-time teams in the two biggest areas in Texas. Plano, of course, lost a lot, like I said, but St. Thomas did as well. This will be a good game to see whose future looks the brightest with the guys they have left. And for that reason, I think in the trenches, I think St. Thomas is going to win this game, so I'm going to go with St. Thomas. Ryan?
Yeah, and I'm gonna keep it maybe kind of along the same lines, but I just think if you say in the trenches, St. Thomas has got it better. I mean, what about Caden Killer? Caden Killer's the dog for JP2. I mean, the same way that way. I think y'all are right though. I really do think Houston St. Thomas is just a great team, and I don't really know a lot about this. I just know that JP2 has just lost a ton of people, and this game would have been a blowout if JP2 had all the guys that they had. But I think JP2 needs to prove it to me a little bit before I can start picking them for games after everything that's gone through. And I mean, I think Mario Edwards has to show me that through his coaching powers that he can claim this team. I really would love to know more about the story of why the coaching change was made, and more along the lines of if he's still in the school system, why is he not coaching this team? I just want to know more about it. If I'm being completely honest, I don't have any opinions on it yet because I don't know enough, but I'm just curious.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. whenever all three of us pick one team, terrible things usually happen. So somehow JP2 will probably end up winning this game because that's how it works when we all pick one team. However, again, you can't worry about that too much. And now we move into the final game we're going to cover, which will be Coram Deo versus Grace Prep. I'm going to come out and say it. I really like Grace Prep here. One of these days, I'm going to stop picking D3 over D2 upsets. Today is not that day. 23 quarterback Jalen Talton is that dude. I was watching his tape earlier. This dude is really good at football. And, Coram Deo, just quite frankly, has been getting absolutely railed since they moved up to D2. And it appears currently to be a program that lacks any sort of life, whereas Grace Prep appears to be the exact opposite, a team gaining traction. And, I alluded to this early. I've already decided that I'm going to be the advocate for TAPS Division 3 on this podcast and throughout the rest of the world. And if that ship goes down, I go down with it. I like Grace Prep here. I think they will beat Coram Deo.
Ryan, do you want to go next? You want me to?
Yeah, no, I'll go. Yeah, I'm right along with you. I think Grace Prep is an insanely good school, and I don't think it's crazy to say that the guy by himself put up 5 touchdowns. He had 4. Let me make sure. Let me just correct, but 4 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. You cannot tell me that he's not a dog. Also, he's a junior, by the way. Keep that in mind. They got a Grace Prep, unless he leaves, has a whole nother season with him. That's awesome. I love that for them. I love that he can only get better. Honestly, give me Grace Prep by 3 touchdowns. Give me by 20 points. I am honest with you.
I would
give me 20 points.
I would act surprised. I honestly think that this is going to get clipped and it's come back to bite me. I think Coram Deo is that bad. I think Grace Prep is good. I don't think Coram Deo is going to be very good.
I'm right there.
Give us the context about why this game is going to go the way it is.
Okay. Grace Prep is led by, Chad Pegas. Impact players, like you mentioned, Jalen Talton, Reed Turner, the 22 linebacker, 22 athlete, Liam Onion, 22 offensive and defensive lineman, Malik Anderson, another 22 O-line, D-line, and Xavier Keegan, and a 2024 wide receiver, Caden LaHoo, that I'm very interested to see ball out this year. On the other side, Coram Deo is led by Sean Riley. Their impact player, of course, was, one of the best defensive linemen in the state, and Jaden Scarlett, but he transfers out and goes to Argyle. So what is that team left with? I mean, in a guy I really, really like, in 24 running back, John Raybuck. I really, really like that kid. Other guys, 22 offensive linemen, defensive linemen, Zach McCallie, 23 athletes, Sam Girth, 23 quarterback, Luke Newton, 23 offensive lineman, Carson Schmitz, and also 23 linebacker, Brock Holton. This will be a great matchup, I honestly think, between another big D3 team, and then a middle tier to low tier D2 team. Coram Deo has talent. I don't think they're going to be able to beat the other teams in that district that they play in, but it's not like they do not have guys. I really, really like John Raybuck and Sam Girth. Those younger guys on that team, they're just a really young team. I think Grace Prep, though, is just a little bit more talented, and I think Jalen will have a fun time throwing to guys like Liam Onion and Caden LaHoo this season. So give me Grace Prep. And I'm going to also say this. Grace Prep might give Covenant a run for their money up north in Division 3 this year. If they keep playing like they do, always an Arlington school is always pretty decent in Division 3, and they've always had a good quarterback, back in the day with I'm not going to say it, but they've always, when we played them back in the day, they always had good quarterbacks and good players. I think Grace Prep could make some noise this year. So give me Grace Prep in this game, and give me Grace Prep maybe in some down the line games too.
I 100% agree. Go on, Ryan.
I was going to say this real quick. I got to give love to these wide receivers on this team. And I know Talton is probably making them look good at this point, but this team is young, y'all. I mean, if you got a junior quarterback, you want the guy that did well for receiving wise, a junior as well. Caleb Mathis had 8 receptions for 147 yards and a touchdown. You got Braden Love, who got 5 receptions, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns, and like you said, Caden Lihu, who's a sophomore, 5 receptions, 67 yards, 1 touchdown. Grace Prep, if not this year, I think next year could just run the show for Division 3. And and I don't want to say anything too crazy because I do love Cypress Christian and I think that they're a good team as well. But I'm not going to go out and say as much as y'all have about Grace Prep. I low-key think that this year is just a stepping stone into how well they're going to be next year, in my opinion.
Like I think Coram Dale, they're young, but they also got hit with a lot of other teams got hit with is that their population just grew a little bit too much where they had to move up to Division 2. And that's just something they have to deal with now, that they were a top tier team in Division 3, just had to move up. And that's something they have to struggle with in the past couple of years. And, you see them struggling now. So,
yeah, for sure. To close out, I mentioned before, Grace Prep is not simply a basketball school anymore.
Nope.
They are very good at football as well.
They're back to being good at football, man.
Exactly. Expect them to make, and I'll go out on the record, make major waves this year in Division 3. I think they can compete at a high level. And also, if I'll leave you with 2 words, I'll say this: Jalen Talton. Keep the name in mind. I think he's going to do a lot of good things.
I think so too.
But that concludes the games that we're looking forward to. The pick records will be updated next week as it comes in. It'll be interesting to see how we do. I think we got a little bit better footing this week because some games have already been played. We know who has who and who's going to perform. However, we'll see. There's still a good chance that somehow we all go like 3-6 because that's how high school football goes. But is there anything y'all want to close with?
Not really. I just want to say, sadly, I can't go cover any games this week. Job comes first. So I have other games I have to go cover, but I'm really excited and will tune in to all the games this week. I want to shout out my boys back home, beating Trinity Valley, bringing the Dog Bowl back home again. And they're going to beat the brakes off of Fort Worth Country Day again and beat the other team on Brian Irvin this week. So shout out to them. Good luck, guys.
I'd also like to give a shout out to my alma mater by keeping it within 50. Go Cougars. Ryan, what do you got to leave us with?
Yeah, I'm going to say keep them within 50 as well. That's a shout out here as well. But no, I'm going to be sitting same spot as I always am, on that couch out in my living room. And I'm going to be live streaming these games. Please, if you don't respond to us, respond to Texas Private School Football Guy as well. He puts out a little tweet every week saying, like, leave the links to your live streams. Do it, please. It's so helpful for me. It's finding stuff so I can watch the games on Friday night. And you know what? I gotta go to my job as well on Saturday, OSU. So it's all about that now. We're getting into college football season. We're getting into NFL season. It's all happening right now, and I'm glad football's back.
Yeah, football back.
100%. All that being said, I have been 1/3 of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder have excellently been themselves, and we will see you in the next episode next Thursday. Peace.